Hello, everyone. Welcome to our July Remento webinar. It is so nice to see everyone here with us. My name is Charlie Greene. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Remento. And on behalf of our entire team here at Remento, I want to go ahead and express my deepest gratitude for all of you making the time to be here with us today. I also want to let everyone know who's on this call that we are going to be recording the session, and we'll be sending out an email with the link to this recording right after the session wraps up. We've got a really exciting agenda today, 4 parts to be specific. We'll start out by sharing a bit of the context about why we set out to create Remento in the first place. Then we're going to do a deep dive into how our product actually works, from selecting prompts to recording stories to ultimately preparing your book for printing. As part of that, we'll walk through some of the exciting new features that we have around our speech-to-story editing features. And then we are incredibly lucky to be joined by 2 Remento customers. One is a host, the other is a storyteller, who have generously offered to share their experience. They'll talk about using Remento with their own families, moments and insights from their journeys, and reflections to help you get the most out of your own Remento journey, whether you're just getting started, you're maybe midway through your prompts, or you're getting ready to print your book. And then finally, we've got time reserved for a Q&A, which will be an opportunity for each of you to submit your own questions. So with that administrative business out of the way, I'd like to transition over to an overview of why we set out to create Remento in the first place. You know, each of us at Team Remento have a different reason for caring about the preservation of family memories and stories. And for me personally, my own passion for this space stems directly from personal experience. It was 9 years ago that my mom was diagnosed with lung cancer. And it was after hearing that diagnosis, I remember being really terrified, absolutely terrified, that she may never actually have the chance to meet her grandchildren. And having lost my dad just a few days before my 10th birthday, I knew personally from firsthand experience how painful it was to one day wake up without someone you love so much. And also how much I would have given in those years after she passed to be able to hear her voice, his voice just one more time. And so right before she started her chemotherapy, we sat down to record a series of her best stories. We were, in effect, creating a time capsule of her legacy, which was designed as a way to introduce her to the family she may never have a chance to meet. And frankly, what I thought I'd capture in those recordings were the stories that I had heard my entire life growing up. But what blew me away was just how much I learned for the very first time, from moments in her career that she had never talked about to the stories of her falling in love with my dad that just simply never came up. And as I reflected on those conversations, I couldn't help but think to myself, you know, why had it taken a cancer diagnosis for me to really get to know my mom in this much more meaningful way? And why, with multiple cameras in my pocket at any given time, had I never thought to record those stories for the future, just in case? And it was from reflecting on that experience that the vision for Remento was ultimately born, which is to make it incredibly easy for families to celebrate and preserve and protect the stories of their family by making it delightfully easy to document the memories that have made each of us who we are today. Now, as many of you know, our flagship product is our Remento books, which we refer to as a no-write memoir. And that's because the final product is hardcover, it's color printed, and it's a keepsake full of life stories created without having to write a single word. So with that being said, I'd love to transition into a deeper dive into how Remento actually works. For those of you who have been using Remento extensively, this is going to be a bit of a review. And for those who are considering using Remento in your own family, I hope that this makes it clear that we're really doing our best to make the journey of preserving legacy as simple and as straightforward as possible. So to get started, we'll begin on the Remento website. You can just go to remento.co. You can also Google the word Remento. And from this screen, I'm going to press login in the upper corner of my browser. That is going to invite me to sign into my fully private Remento account. Now, for many things you do on the internet, you need a unique password. But at Remento, we actually don't use passwords, but instead rely on the security of your email to protect your account. So once you type in your email address, Remento will email you a link. And then you can click on that link in your email to be logged directly into your private Remento website. And that's where I've landed here. Now, it's worth noting that the experience I'm walking through is on a computer, but you can do all of this from any device, whether that's a laptop or an iPad or a smartphone. Now, right now I'm looking at the prompts page, and that's because I'm the host for my mom, Claudette, who I purchased Remento for. And that means I have the opportunity to customize her experience by selecting the prompts she'll respond to over the course of the year that she'll have access to Remento. So step number one is to pick what I want to learn about. I'm going to press Add Prompts and see that I'm presented with 3 different options. The first option is to upload a photograph, meaning that my mom will be asked to reflect on an image, whether that's a photograph of her childhood or a picture of a family trip or a photo of a family heirloom. The second option is to select a question from our question bank. And the last option is to create a poll among friends and family to learn exactly what others want to hear your storyteller talk about. I'm going to go ahead and press Add a Question, which is going to bring me to the Remento question bank. Now, at Remento, we've teamed up with professional storytellers and memory scientists to develop these questions designed specifically to stimulate the recall of unique and specific and often overlooked memories. I'll begin by clicking on the childhood category, and you can see that Remento makes it really easy for me to pick and choose which question I want to add. Now, in this case, I'm picking these 2 questions for my mom, but if I had bought Remento to document my own stories, the process would be exactly the same. Now, once I'm satisfied with the selection, I can click Next and see that those questions are now added to my mom's queue. That means the first prompt in the list will be sent to her on this coming Wednesday, and the next prompt will be sent the following Wednesday. Now I'll go back in and I'm going to add a photograph. I click on Add Prompts again, and then I can select Upload a Photograph option. On this page, I can see that there are actually a few different ways that I can add a photo. I can add one from Facebook. I can add a photo from Instagram. Photos can be added via direct connection from either Google Drive or Dropbox, or I can manually add a photo to upload. So I'm going to go ahead and manually add a photo that I have on my desktop. This is a photograph of my parents from their wedding day. I'll say, unlike my wife and I, who have a few thousand photographs, I think this is one of 6 photos from their wedding day. And if I wanted my mom to receive that photo before the other 2 questions, all I have to do is click and drag the photo to the top of the queue like you just saw. At the moment, we allow 1 photo to be uploaded per prompt, but our team is actively working on an update to allow multiple photos to be added in the future. Also, we default to 1 prompt sent every week, but you can change the setting to be more frequent and on whatever days you'd like. Now, my sister actually has a ton of photos of my mom's childhood, so I'm going to go invite her to add some of those photos to my mom's queue as well. To do that, all I have to do is navigate to the invite button at the top of the screen, and then I can add her email address and then press invite. That will make her a collaborator on my mom's project, which means she can pick prompts and will be notified every time my mom creates a new story. Now, speaking of new stories, I want to bring you over to what my mom will experience as a storyteller, which is the same whether she received Remento as a gift or had purchased it for herself. You can see in the screen we're looking at her iPhone, and she's just received a new message from Remento that it's time to record a new story. For the record, my mom is signed up for both SMS text messages and also emails, so she'll receive a notification when it's time to record via both text and email. When she clicks on that notification, you can see that she's brought directly to her email, where she's got an email from Remento letting her know that it's time to record. Here you can see that she's got a preview of the question being asked, which in this case includes a photograph. So she'll go ahead and click Share My Memory, and she'll be brought directly into the Remento recording studio. Now you'll notice that she's greeted by name without any logins, downloads, or passwords, and that's because the recording experience is accessed via secure link that she was sent, meaning she can start her private recording in just a few taps. And this experience can be done from any device whatsoever, including your smartphone or tablet or laptop. At this point, she can either change her prompt or continue recording this one. Here, she'll go ahead and press Next Step, and now she has the option to tell Remento if she wants to record video or audio only. Now, one of the things that we hear all the time from storytellers is how they don't want to be recorded on video, whether it's because of a bad hair day or bad lighting. Everyone seems to have a reason. And that's a shame because when we talk with families, they tell us how much they love the video recordings of their loved ones. So to all of my storytellers who are in the audience today, if you're willing to give video recording a shot, your family will definitely thank you for that. So my mom graciously accepts video and is now asked to grant Remento some basic permissions to ensure we can capture her recording. Now she taps turn on camera and has to allow permissions for Remento to access her device. She's done that, so now it's time for her to confirm that she's happy with the way she looks. And because she is, she can go ahead and press next step. And now wherever she is ready to get started. When she is ready to get started, she can press the big green button and begin recording. So she presses start recording, and after a 3-second countdown, she is recording now. Now she can record for up to 30 minutes. There is no perfect length because there's a photo here. I want to show you that you can press the expand button on the upper right part of the photograph to be able to see it in full screen. So she'll go ahead and tap that button, and now we can see the photo in full screen. Now to exit the screen, she just needs to tap the X button in the same corner. Now, for whatever reason, my mom wanted to pause her recording. She just needs to hit the pause button in the bottom. That's perfect if you want to answer the door or get a drink of water or anything else. And when she's ready, she can tap resume to continue the recording. And now that she's done, she can press stop. Now on this screen, she can watch the recording, decide that she wants to retake the recording or submit it. In this case, she did a great job. So she'll go ahead and press submit. And that is it for this story. And as a quick reminder, she can record as many stories as she wants within the year of her access to Remento. There is no limit at all. Now, if she wants to, she does have 2 other options. First, she can record another story. Or she can go ahead and re-record that same story to begin with. Now we've just transitioned over back into my world. Because she has submitted a recording, I, along with all of her collaborators, receive an email letting us know there's a new story to check out. You can see that Remento has automatically summarized the content of her recording and is inviting me to watch that recording. Of course, I want to watch, so I naturally click the button and I'm brought back into my private Remento website. And here you have it. On the left side, you can see my mom speaking about the photograph. And on the right side, you can see that Remento has taken her recording and transcribed it word for word. You can see that the first sentence reads exactly the way the words came out of her mouth. And that's because when I set up Remento for my mom, I indicated that I wanted Remento to provide her words exactly as she said them. Now, if I click on the edit button on the bottom right, I can now see that I'm in the writing assistant. I can click edit story manually, and you can see that I can edit the text however I see fit and even change the title. I'll go ahead and change some punctuation here. But let's say the transcript of this video is feeling really long and perhaps a bit scattered. I can go ahead and click edit, and I'm back at the writing assistant screen. Right now, you can see that clean transcript is selected by default, but I can change the story perspective to either first or third person. If I select first person, that means Remento's speech-to-story technology is going to take her words and then turn them into a polished story written as if she was writing them herself. So I'll go ahead and press first person, and you'll see that Remento is giving me the option to select the length of the story that I want. I'm going to opt to make that story a bit longer, and then I will press generate preview. And what Remento is now doing is turning that transcript into a restructured written narrative using my mom's language and tone, written as if she had sat down and written it herself. You can see that the first line reads, "This photo was taken on the happiest day of my life up until that point." Now let's go ahead and see what the third person looks like. I'll move my mouse over to tap. I'll move my mouse over and tap the edit button. And I've done that. And now I can see that Remento is coming up with a version of the story written in the third person and is using the same length. And you can see we've got a new title and a new story written for us, written as if a biographer was writing about my mom, Claudette, for the in the third person. You can see it says, "It was the happiest day of Claudette's life, at least up until that point." So this version is really great. So I'll go ahead and click save. And now all of these changes have been saved to the account. And as a reminder, all of this text is completely editable. Now the story already does have a photo, but let's say there's one more that I want to add. I'll go ahead and press add photo, and then I can find another photo on my desktop that I want to add to the story. In this case, it's a church from the place where they got married. Now, once this photo is uploaded, all I have to do is press done. And now that it has been saved to the story alongside that first photo. Now, my mom has shared a really beautiful story here, and I want to let her know how much sharing those details really mean to me and to my sister. To share a reaction, I can simply click on the heart icon at the bottom of the screen. And doing so is going to allow me to send my mom a reaction message about the story she's just told, which is going to be emailed to her directly. Now, my mom is a really prolific storyteller and has been using Remento for a while. So if we close out of this page and head over to the story section of the private website, you can see that she has recorded dozens of stories. Some of them are from her childhood. Others are far more recent, like a photo of her dropping me off at college. And we've actually got a lot of images of family heirlooms that she's told stories about as well. In her case, I uploaded most of these photos into the prompts for her, meaning she was looking at them as she told the story. But photos can also be uploaded to the story after it's already been recorded, which is a really nice way to bring that story to life, as you just saw. Speaking of ways to bring the stories to life, it's now time to go ahead and create our book. So I can press order books on the left-hand side and can see that I'm brought to a screen where I can customize the cover of my mom's stories. On this page, I can add a photograph to the front cover, I can customize the text, and I can also change the color of the book. And then I can press next, and here I'll have the opportunity to customize the inside of the book. I can specifically exclude stories from being included. I can reorder stories that I'd like to include, dragging some up and moving others down, in my case, to make them roughly chronological for her. And then I can tap next to confirm that I'm ready to move forward and preview a copy of the book. So on the right side of this preview page, you can see exactly how the book is going to be laid out. We've got a table of contents at the top, and then chapters. Each chapter includes a QR code. And what's, of course, really special about Remento books is that QR code printed inside that when scanned will play the recording that was used to write each story. I can show you exactly what that looks like. Here you see my mom's Remento book printed out. You can see it's printed in color. It's 8 inches by 10 inches, and it's printed on double thick paper. And if anyone scans the QR code at the start of each chapter, they'll be able to play the recording that was used to write that story. That way, no one in your family, whether it's next year or 100 years from now, will ever be without those stories or the voices behind each one. So that concludes a walkthrough of how our product works. As a reminder, if you have questions, you can always reach out to our customer support team by email at support@remento.co, and they will be happy to answer any questions that you've got. So next up, we are really excited to share a special conversation with 2 of our Remento customers, my favorite part of our webinar every month. We have Linda and Michele with us, and I think their stories are really going to resonate with many of you joining today. Linda is a Remento storyteller who received Remento as a birthday gift and wrote about her experience recording memories on her amazing blog that I would recommend everyone check out, called We Are Proud Aging Women. And we also have Michele, who is with us, who's using Remento with her husband to document his memories and stories. So Linda and Michele, welcome to our webinar.
Thank you. Thank you.
Linda, I would love to start with you. You received Remento as a birthday present from your kids. Can you tell the audience a little bit about what that experience was like for you?
Yes. My daughter was this person who spearheaded this, and she thought that it would be a nice idea for me to tell my stories, since my husband had written a book about his family history like the year before, and I had not yet told many of the stories of my second career, actually. because by the time I got to my second career, my kids had already left home and gone to college. So she thought it would be a good idea for me to be able to tell my stories, so that they would know the details of that part of my life.
And you have a prolific blog, so the combination of what you've written down and created with Remento is certainly special and something to celebrate among the family. Michele, you've got a little bit of a different story about how you came to be engaged with Remento. I wonder if you could share with the audience the decision you made to purchase Remento and why it was important for you and for your family.
Well, initially, my sister and I used a program called Audacity, ages old, where we recorded a story about my parents. My sister's 10 years younger than I am. We made a little outline of what we wanted to say about our parents that we remembered, and we recorded that. We made discs, CD discs of it. And when we were done, my sister said, this is so great to talk about their stories, but if we only had it in their voice. So when I went back home to South Dakota, my husband and I sat down and we made a list of things that we wanted to tell our kids about, how we met and everything up to when we had them. And we did it in our voice, and we made those CD discs for them. And we actually haven't given them to the kids yet. They're part of what they receive when we're no longer here to tell that story. But anyway, I've used a couple of other one other unnamed story program. And then my sister called me again and she said, I just watched Shark Tank, and there is a new program that you need to check out because you can do an audio, a video. It sounds like the total picture. So I looked at it and I decided that would be for my husband and I. And I wanted to do his stories first because he has a memory loss. And I knew that I wanted to do one for myself too, but I knew that his time was more limited in how he would be able to share his stories. So we're going, and he's enjoying it and I'm enjoying it. And I know that our family will down the road as well.
Michele, you just mentioned the element of being able to speak as being different than things that you've done in the past, other products, but similar to some things that you've done in the past as it relates to just recording stories for your family. Linda, I remember the first time we talked, you mentioned that sometimes speaking feels different or more natural than writing. Can you explain kind of what you meant by that, and how does your experience of speaking stories differ from when you're writing them down?
That's a good question, because I think one of the things that happens when you start recording is you feel a little awkward at first. You hear your own voice and it sounds weird, or there's a way of telling a story that somebody's sitting in front of you that might be different than when you're writing it down. But what I discovered that was so great about Remento is that I could make some notes and tell a story, and if I didn't like it, I could delete it and re-record it, which was great in the beginning because I felt like I wasn't quite in the swing of telling that. But when you tell a story, you have much more, you can show your emotion and your passion and your feelings in a way you can't do it when you're just writing.
Yeah, that definitely resonates. We've also heard from customers that it's just easier. Maybe takes a little bit of the pressure off of feeling like every word has to be perfectly written and then edited, which is, I know as a writer, I sometimes enjoy doing, but the idea of a homework assignment that I have to do every week, I feel could become a little tedious potentially. Michele, I'm curious with your husband, what kinds of questions have you spent time asking him through Remento, and what kinds of stories have been most meaningful?
Well, I love the prompts that are offered to us from Remento, but most of the ones, and we've used some of them, but most of the ones we've used, either I have made up or other people in his family. And it was so interesting. I hate to admit that I haven't watched all of the information that you gave in the at the beginning of the webinar about how it works, because I send a text message. Joe has 12 brothers and sisters, and they send me ideas for prompts. And then if we use one of them, they'll send me a picture that might go with it over email. So I would say that for Joe right now, because we're all changing every day, but he's changing a little more rapidly.
Yeah.
And I think that as we do stories, most of them are from long ago. Those are the things that he remembers the most. And we do a lot of reminiscing before he does recordings. So I think that that has been very special for me, and has also helped me when we do the recordings. He tends to repeat a lot of things and maybe go on for too long. And so having the AI in first person, having the kind of the more concise and easy to read story of what he's talking about is good. But also, we have never re-recorded anything, because I feel like where he is right now is important for our family to know and remember. So
It's a beautiful journey that you're going on with Joe, and capturing this moment in time is so wonderful and special, and something that everyone in your family will look back on in the future, and I know be really, really grateful to have. And we have actually queued up a reminiscence therapist who will be joining our webinar hopefully soon, who's going to be speaking specifically about the emotional and cognitive benefits of reminiscence therapy, which there are strong parallels between the clinical work that she does with people and the practice of just sharing stories with loved ones or for the purpose of recording.
Well, Charlie, one of the barriers that I had when I received Remento was that several weeks later, my husband died. And so I was not able to record anything for a month or two. I didn't feel like doing it. I just couldn't. But the good thing about Remento is that you can wait. You don't have to record it right away. And so it offered me a chance to reflect and deal with telling stories from my point of view about things that we had been through together in our lives without having to re-record it all the time. So that was it's very flexible, this program. So it makes it very easy to record when you want to, wait when you want to, and do it later.
So maybe you found that at the beginning of the year that you started, it wasn't the right time, but you were able to, when you were ready to speak about life and your late husband, the program was adaptable in that moment. Yeah,
Yep.
that's
Well,
one of the things I remember when. Oh, go ahead, Michelle.
I was just going to say, as you say that, Linda, for us, I think doing the stories more quickly is important because of the changes. As I said, as we all change every day, but as Joe is changing more rapidly, I want to get as many stories done as quickly as we can. So we can do one every day if it's possible. It seems like mornings are best for him. And if we reminisce, which we always do, and it's a very good time for both of us to do that reminiscing. Then as he records the stories too, if he forgets to mention something that I feel like is important to the story, then in the AI version, I can go in and edit what he forgot to say in the written portion, which has been very joyful for me. So we leave the recordings as they are because we are what we are. And then, as I said, the written part I can edit if I want to make sure that the whole story and the whole heart of the story is in the story.
And that's something that we hear from both hosts and from storytellers who have recorded and then realize that a date that they said may not have been right, or realize that there's a piece of the story that maybe they wish they hadn't talked about, or something that they wish they had.
You know, my daughter submitted a bunch of photos before I even started, and there was one of me on a camel, and I was stunned because I had no memory of ever being on a camel. And I looked at that photo for so long and I thought, where was that taken? Because it was me on the camel. And I finally decided I couldn't really remember. Probably it was on some trip we took. So I deleted it and put another photo in its place.
So the flexibility of being able to adjust the prompts has been something that's helpful for you. I'm curious, what was some of the prompts in Remento can be sent with questions that could be pulled from the Remento question bank. Other questions are written by a member of your family, perhaps about a specific moment. And then, as we talked about in the overview, a prompt can feature a photograph. And Linda, I remember when we spoke, you mentioned that a lot of your prompts were submitted by members of your family, and they featured a photograph. So maybe the mysterious camel photo aside for a moment, what is? I think I have a photo of me on a camel from when I was 2, from the Bronx Zoo in New York. I don't think I have much of a story about it. I'm curious though, the difference between recording in reaction to a photo versus some of these questions, what the experience has been like for you.
I preferred the reaction to the actual photo, because sometimes the Remento prompts were a little stiff for me. But they would say things like, you're smiling in this photograph and you seem quite happy. What was going on that day? Or this is an interesting photo. Why were you on that boat or whatever? So the prompt was really just a way for me to get into the story. And I could enter it by the prompt or by the photo or by a variety of ways.
Yeah. But there's a lot of research coming out of our scientific advisory board at Remento that indicates that as it relates to stimulus, photos can be very helpful at bringing us back to specific moments that can inspire memory in ways that can be really difficult from just an open-ended question.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you asked me how did I feel on my wedding day, it would be complicated, my answer. But there's a wonderful picture of me sitting with my husband, and both of us look completely exhausted. and that helped me remember that was a fairly stressful day, since my father was the minister who both gave me away and did the ceremony, and there were 500 people in the church watching us do our vows. So it was kind of a stressful day.
Well, that's one of the things that we know from the experts that we work with when we think about what makes a good story, is that ultimately the best stories have specificity in them. So waxing poetics about how wonderful your wedding day was for 15 minutes that's a great thing to have. But being able to bring someone into the specifics of why in the middle of the ceremony and the reception, one thing happened that was a total surprise, that lends itself to actually being a more compelling story, and likely something that people in your family might engage with in a different way in the future. To shift gears a little bit, Michele, to where we were earlier, you are approaching Remento at a very specific moment with Joe. And I'm curious, for people who are on this call who are caregivers to someone with some version of cognitive impairment and memory loss, I wonder if you have any advice for how you would think they might approach documenting memories and stories.
Well, I think the idea of reminiscing before you what I have done is talk to Joe about the different prompts that we have listed, and he'll pick out one, and then we'll reminisce for a while and laugh and talk about so many different, different parts of that story. And then we try and, when I have made the prompts or when I have edited ones that his family thinks would be appropriate, to make it more focused and smaller. And it seems like anything that, it depends on where the person is in their memory life. But right now, I would say things that are happening like right now, today, this week, even in the last year, are hard to remember. And so we have to focus our stories more on past events, things when Joe was a child, when he was in the service. He still is very interested in the career that he had, and of course our family life. But I think, you have to look at where the person is and what they are able to remember. And then the reminiscing will help. And looking at pictures. I am a dinosaur when it comes to technology. And I have to tell you, that's been one of the beautiful things about Remento is the people that are there to help and help quickly. You don't hear from them 2 weeks later about solving a problem. You hear from them the next day about how to fix something. But anyway, I think that keeping a smaller focus, as I said, we try and work in the morning because that seems to be the freshest time for my husband. I plug my computer into the television and we can look at all of our old pictures up on the screen and that have to do with maybe the prompt that we've chosen to talk about that day. So, and as I said, we'll be doing as many as we can every week in the morning so that we can get as many stories down as possible before doing those recordings just either isn't possible or isn't pleasant for both of us.
Well, I love, Michele, what you've done around building a really beautiful ritual around this process. And it sounds like it's bringing a lot of meaning to the experience for both of you.
I'm just so thankful that you came up with this, Charlie. And I'm sorry that your mom had to get cancer for it to happen, but I'm just very thankful to have the opportunity to be able to preserve stories for Joe. And then down the road, as I said, I'll be doing it for myself.
Well, we can't wait to have you, Michele, convert into becoming a storyteller yourself. We're excited for that. I've got one more question, and Linda, I'll ask this one to you. In your journey of receiving Remento as a storyteller, at the beginning of the journey, it was difficult for a variety of different reasons, but ultimately there was a moment where you decided to get started and record your first story. And I'm curious, for the storytellers who are on this call, who are here because they've received Remento as a gift, but haven't yet recorded their first story, what advice would you have for them?
Yes, I think that, first of all, I had pictures, some photos to relate to, but before I ever started to record, I jotted down ideas. Okay, this is a picture of, my husband and me after the birth of our first child. And let me think, what do I want to talk about? What do I want to tell? So that I would jot down ideas, just on a piece of paper. And then when I hit record, it goes 3, 2, 1, boom, and then you start recording. The first time I did it, I stuttered and I knew that the AI would take out some of that, but I wasn't comfortable. So I stopped and I deleted it and I started again. And then the second time was much easier. And then I could tell my story. And if I had a family member with me, it was even easier because I felt like I was talking directly to them. But sometimes it was just me and the computer. So I would tell the story, and um, as Michelle has noted, you can go in and add things that you forgot. And I found that in the editing function a great relief to know that, oh, I forgot that one thing. Do I have to record the whole thing over again? No. I can go in and add that into the text if I need to. So that's my main suggestion is think it through. And if you start out and it's awkward and you don't like it, then delete it and start again. You can do it as many times as you want. And the story sometimes gets better as you tell it. So that's how I have done it. But Charlie, can I just show people this book?
Oh my gosh.
It's so heavy. It's so substantial and really fantastic. And I was not expecting, here's me with coming home from the hospital with my first child. I was not expecting it to be so substantial and beautiful in the print version. So I just wanted to show that.
Well, the credit for the beauty of your book is entirely yours. So it's because you went through a really beautiful journey, and gosh, now I want to read that story of you carrying your child. That's amazing. But just for the record, so everyone knows, we don't have access to be able to read the stories unless you proactively share them with our team.
Oh, okay.
But Linda, thank you for sharing your book and for all of your really wonderful thoughts and feedback today. And Michelle, thank you for being so open about your journey using Remento with Joe.
I would like to add one quick thing about if I can help my husband make this book and make the stories, anybody can do it. Because I am, when it comes to technology, I don't really like it and I'm not good at it, but there's a lot of help out there whenever you have questions, and there's, you can do it over again. Like Linda said, you can erase and start over. But what I wouldn't do, I have old 8mm films of my parents that were made into VHS that were then made into DVDs. And you see them moving, but you can't hear their voice. You either have their picture or you have their voice, but never together. And I think this will be a great gift for our kids, our grandkids. And I think everybody should do it. I'm a firm believer.
Well, plus one. That makes three of us, I think, on the call today. Linda and Michelle, thank you both so much for the generosity of your time today. This was, as always, the highlight of the webinar. And on behalf of everyone who's joining live and also watching after the fact, thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Well, with that being said, we're going to transition now into our live Q&A that we're going to go ahead and do. And what I want to share with everyone is exactly how that will work. We can go ahead and you'll see on the right-hand side of your screen, there'll be an option to add your questions, which you can begin typing right now, and then either add your own question or you can upvote other questions. And we're going to be responding to questions based on the number of upvotes. So the questions with the most upvotes will be the ones that we respond to first. We also have a survey that is going to be shared in the chat as well. And we would ask if you wouldn't mind just taking a minute or two to please share feedback on this webinar today. It allows us to be able to make the webinar better each and every time we do this. So thank you in advance for taking just a minute or two to share some feedback. So with that being said, we'll move into our very exciting live Q&A, an opportunity for me to see if I still understand all of the details about this product. So let's go ahead and see the first question that we have submitted. This is from Renee. And Renee is asking if there's an option to extend the 1-year subscription. And Renee, it's a great question. As you know, when you buy Remento for $99, you are buying 1 year of access to the product and a credit for a hardcover book. And if at the end of the year, you realize you want to continue recording new stories, there is an option to continue the subscription either for a full year or by the month. And if you decide that you don't want to renew your subscription, I want to clarify that you'll continue to be able to have access to all of your recordings. You'll be able to scan the QR code. You'll be able to invite family and friends, and you'll be able to order new books. You just won't be able to add new recordings or edit existing stories. So yes, there is an option, and we would welcome you to take advantage of it. Steve is asking, I hope the company lasts forever. You and me both, Steve. But if it doesn't, how will you ensure the availability of the videos? Well, look, this is really simple for us. The content that you record with Remento is far too precious for us to ever gamble with. And that's why at any given point, any story that's recorded on Remento, whether you have an active subscription or not, can be downloaded from Remento directly to your phone, to your tablet, to your laptop, and then ultimately backed up to your favorite cloud storage device. And that's, again, at any time, again, because the content created with Remento is far too precious for you to ever trust any single person or company to protect on your behalf. Great question, Steve. Thank you for that. George is asking, do you get videos as well as audio from the QR code? That's right, you do. We always give the storyteller the option to record in audio only or video as well. And when you scan that QR code, it will bring you into your private Remento website, and that's going to show whatever content was ultimately recorded, whether it's just that audio or it includes video as well. Thank you for the question, George. Anne is asking, are we limited to 52 stories per year? Absolutely not. No, when you create your account, you're able to set the cadence that feels right to you. And we default to one question every week. But as we heard from Michele, she is at times recording more than one story per week. So we have had storytellers record books with hundreds of stories in the span of just a couple of weeks. So what you're basically able to do in that first year that you have access is to record an unlimited number of stories to be able to make sure that anything you want to talk about, you have the chance to. Carol is asking, once you've submitted a story, can you still edit or record? The answer is absolutely. So once you submit a story, you can edit all of the text. You can regenerate the story to be able to change the way that it's written. And you can re-record the story. So if you decide that you want to make a change, you can just re-record that story. We don't have the ability to be able to add to an existing recording yet, although that's feedback that we've heard in the past and is with our customer support team, and also something that our product team is actively considering. Carla is asking, is there a library for all the photos used in the stories or a method of moving them from one story to another? Carla, that's a really interesting question. Not one that I've heard before. Right now, all of our photos belong to the actual story that it was uploaded to. But the idea of a library is something that we've thought about but haven't meaningfully considered. So Carla, maybe our product team can reach out to you to ask some additional questions about what exactly you have in mind, and we can prioritize based on your feedback. Thank you for that question. I think there's a really good suggestion embedded within that. Shelly is asking, I've ordered 2 books. Can I have a different picture on the books, or is it just one? You can have different pictures on your books. So every time you create a book, I should say, when you go to order a book, you have the option to either reorder a previous book that was ordered or create, in quotes, a new book. And if you reorder the book, it'll be a carbon copy. So if you order one book as a proof and you want to order 15, you just hit reorder. You don't have to go through any process. However, if you realize that you want to change the color of the front, you want to change the photo, you want to change the title, you want to add some stories or remove some stories, you would just create a new book, and then you can completely customize it in whatever way you want. It will be added into your account. And then if you realize you want to go back and order more copies of the first book, that's an option as well. It's a great question, Shelley. Carrie's asking, can I upload multiple photos from my iPhone photo gallery? Yeah, really simply. When you go to hit upload photos, when you go to upload photos, you can just select multiple different photos and then hit upload. I think the company that we use to upload photos has a limit of maybe 20 photos at a time. So you might have to do a couple of batches if you want to do hundreds, but you can upload multiple photos. Steve is asking, is there a way to build a couples book, i.e. her story, his story, combined story? That's a great idea. We, for the holidays last year, we did a special promotion where we did a special buy one, get one half off where you could create books in parallel. We don't actively have a way of being able to bring stories from different storytellers with separate accounts into one book on Remento, although that's feedback that we've gotten. What we've heard some storytellers will do is they'll create one account and they will use two storytellers within that account, and one person will record what do you remember about your wedding day? And then the second person will record a question, what do you remember about your wedding day? And then they can just put those stories, back to back. It's not exactly the way the product is intended to be used today, but it does work. And it's a great suggestion and something that I think we should definitely consider in the future. Mary is asking, do you recommend keeping the same writing format throughout, first person or third person, whichever you choose? My answer to that question is whatever you would recommend. My recommendation is whatever you'd like to do is going to be great for you. We have some people who feel that having anything but the transcript in the book removes some of the authenticity of their loved one from the text. So they really want to have that transcript. And then, we have other people who say, when my mom or my dad or when I share stories, sometimes I ramble a little bit and I realize that the beginning needs to be a little bit different, and the speech to story can help really smooth out some of that. So some people will decide to have kind of the default selection between the three options that we provide be consistent throughout all their stories. And if you realize that there's one story that you want to be written in a different way, you can change that at the story level. So we don't have an official recommendation. Your book is designed to reflect however you want it to be written. Julie is writing, I found my dad only 4.5 years ago via DNA. Wow, he's now 80. I have no pictures to add. He has none. Since I wasn't raised by him, do you have any question prompts or ideas to assist with this? I want to know about his life and him raising my half brothers. Well, Julie, I mean, amazing story. Clearly, amazing stories to be able to capture. I'd recommend maybe focusing on some of the prompt categories that we have around childhood and also early age and maybe career. And what we will do on this end is why don't we plan to reach out to some of our storytelling advisors and see if we can come up with a couple of specific questions that might be a good fit for your use case specifically. So we'll just make a note to be back in touch with you, Julie, and offer some recommendations there. Thank you for sharing that piece. It sounds like, really important stories to be able to capture. Lovely. Any tips on how I can get my parents more involved in responding to prompts? I have so many suggestions. I think the two that I'll share right now is the first is making sure they understand why you've asked them to participate in Remento. And, one of the things that can be a real deterrent for people sharing stories with Remento is feeling like they are pre-eulogizing themselves. So thinking that what they are effectively doing is creating content to be viewed when they're no longer around. And of course, part of the reason why we are interested in creating this content is to be able to pass it down for generations. But where so much of the value gets created for our storytellers and their families in the shorter term is having families see their loved ones in different ways because of the things that they learn. So I'd make it really clear to your parents that a big piece of why you've given them Remento is because there are things about their life that you want to learn. And then the second thing that I would share with them that would be a good way to potentially get them started is that they don't have to consider it to be a big, scary, intimidating effort, that the technology has been built in a way that is designed to be really simple and straightforward to use. So if you're near them, you might consider sitting with them and actually recording the first prompt. You could do it together, and we've heard that that definitely works well. And then my last piece of advice would be the second you get a prompt from them, I should say, the second you get a story, the second they record for the first time, go ahead and listen to that story and then provide feedback to them about why you're glad to have that story. No matter how small and trivial that story may be, them realizing that they're not recording into a vacuum, but it actually is meaningful to you, to members of your family potentially. Those are really good reasons to get someone who is thinking about recording stories but not yet over that hump to go ahead and write their first story, record their first story. Thanks, lovely. Karen is saying, is it possible to order multiple copies of the hardcover book? Of course. We've had storytellers who order, I think I'm not sure what the record is, but we've had people order over 20 copies of their books. And that can be done by going through the book order process and just deciding how many copies you'd like. Hartley is saying, I've had the product for 6 months, but haven't used it yet. Can I go back and start at the beginning again? Of course. I mean, Hartley, your subscription has started, but you haven't missed anything. When you go to record your first story, you're going to be able to see all of the prompts that you haven't yet answered. You can dive in and you can start recording your first story today. And I think Linda provided some really good advice on how to think about making sure that that first prompt is something that, you know, is going to be important because it's your first, but doesn't feel like it has to be intimidating or massively climactic. So Hartley, I hope you're able to get started. Ryan is saying, if I chose Remento display my storytellers via AI, can I go back and change that to display word by word? Have I lost word by word? Absolutely not. All of the options are interchangeable. You can always go backwards. So in the example, we started with the speech to story version that was rendering a cleaned up transcript. Then we went to first person. Then we went to third person. We can go right back to where we started with the clean transcript and continue to jump back and forth. You never lose the ability to move across those three options. Good question. Anne is asking, so in addition to the cost of opening an account, how much do additional duplicate books cost? So for $99, you're getting that 1 year of access, which normally costs $99, plus a credit for a hardcover color printed books, which retails for $69. So it's $168 worth of value for the price of $99. And then if you want to buy an additional book, that costs $69. That would be for a length of up to 200 pages. I think Linda's book that she showed was, I think, around 140 pages, if I remember right, she shared with me. And if it goes over 200 pages, there's a $30 surcharge to be able to print that book. And that's because, again, we pay by the page, and the books that we are investing in are hardcover, they're double thick paper, they're printed on glossy paper, and they are designed to last. Marlee is asking, will pictures be adjusted size-wise to fit the page nicely? Yes. The answer is yes. What we will do is if you upload a low-resolution photo, we will print it at the maximum display without making the photo grainy. If you upload a high-resolution photo, we will display it as large as we can on that page. And if it is low resolution, when you go to print the book, we will flag for you that it's low resolution so you can know to upload a higher resolution if you do have it. We also, I should note that we have a partnership with a company called Legacy Box, which allows you to send photographs physically printed out to them to be able to digitize them into a format that is very high resolution and can be added to your Remento book. So if you find yourself opening up scrapbooks and using your iPhone or Android phone to take photos, those may be high resolution, but potentially low quality in terms of the way that they are photographed. If you want a really premium book with really premium quality photos inside, you can definitely head over to the Legacy Box integration that we have and take advantage of that. Will electronic version of final book be available to distribute after book is finalized? Yes, we also offer an ebook version that can be purchased at checkout or at any point later. And that is a simple electronic file that you can forward around to everyone who you're not interested in buying a physical book for. So absolutely yes. Marlee is asking, is there a way to know how many pages you have recorded so far so you know whether to lengthen or shorten some feature stories? Marlee, this is a great question. This is something we've heard before. It's something we know we need to do better, which is to provide storytellers and hosts an idea of like, what does their progress look like with their book? So right now you can just click on order books, put something into the kind of like the front cover, and then just hit next. And then you'll actually see a preview of what the book looks like on the inside, and you won't have to order that book. It'll just be a preview of what it looks like. So if you want to just get a gut check on how far you are along in creating this book, go there. But we also take the feedback to heart that we need to find a way to make the experience of where you are in the journey a lot more clear as you're experiencing it. Sherry is asking, can you upload a previously recorded video? Another great question. No, unfortunately, for now. feedback that we've gotten very consistently in the past. Turns out most people don't have recordings of loved ones talking about experiences from their life. And the people that do desperately want to get those into the Remento books that they're creating. So something we're definitely considering and will incorporate into the product in the future. I don't have an exact date on that, but it's a really good suggestion. Kathy is asking, how do I know when my subscription expires? It was a gift and I was delayed. So what you can do is just look into your email and look for the Welcome to Remento email that you received. That was sent to you on the day that your subscription was activated. So you can go ahead and find that email and look at the date, and your subscription will expire 1 year from that date. If we extend the subscription past the first year, can all the subsequent stories be included in that first book, or is each year subscription only for one book? I love this question, Lisa. Really, really thoughtfully asked. The answer is you can certainly continue to aggregate stories within that first project and then that first book. So right now you create a project, you add stories into that project, and then from that project, you can create a book. It could be all of the stories in that project. It could be a subset. And adding another year to your subscription allows you to continue to make additions into that project, which means that if at the end of year one, you created a book with the stories that existed in the project and you recorded more stories a year later, you could create a separate version of that book that includes the additional stories, all of the stories in the project, or again, some combination or subset within. Anne is asking, is there a limit to how many pages are in one book? So for the book credit that you receive at the time of purchase, as well as additional book credits that you buy for $69, we have a 200-page limit. If you want to print a book that's between 201 pages and 380 pages, there's a $30 surcharge to be able to do that. Just as a reminder, all of our books are hardcover, color printed, printed on double thick paper, and again, designed to last. Gilchrist is asking, I live in Mission, British Columbia, Canada. Do you cover Canada? If so, what is the cost for me in Canadian dollars? We definitely do cover, ship books to Canada. So there's no additional fee to be able to use Remento digitally. We do have a premium that we charge because we print our books in the US and ship them to Canada. That information is on our website. So I don't know of the Canadian dollar cost off the top of my head, but it's available on our website, and I will have one of our teammates send you an email, Gilchrist, directly with all of the Canadian pricing so you have it. Norman Dean is asking, my mom passed away in April and she was 100 years old. Can my sister and I tell some of her stories, photos, and videos? Norman Dean, sorry to hear about your mom's passing, 100-year-olds. That's incredible. The answer is yes, you can do this. Remento wasn't designed in the way that it's been currently built to be able to accommodate books created in memoriam, but this is something that you absolutely can do. Our storytellers have done this in the past as well as their hosts. You would basically just pretend to be your mom recording in these recordings, and they would appear alongside any other content that you have. So the answer is yes, and this is something that we want to build much more intentionally around in the future because we know the need is really there. So thank you for that great question. Carlene is asking, can I re-up after my first year since I haven't used it yet and I've missed 7 months? Absolutely. That's what the extension of your subscription is available for. We want to make sure that you can use our product for as long as you'd like into the future. And again, don't feel trapped into a subscription if you're not getting value out of either recording new stories or editing existing stories. Thanks, Carlene. But how can I remove a photo I added by mistake? Betty Ann, so this is something that I will have our customer support team follow up with you directly about. There was a bug that we caught based on the last update that may be at the root of exactly the question that you have here. So if it's the bug, I apologize for that. A bug in software is just like a small mistake. Our team is actively fixing that, pushing an update like within the next 2 or 3 days. So I will go ahead and have our customer support team follow up with you directly to make sure we get guidance to you on exactly how to achieve what you're trying to. Nikki is asking, I've been scanning old photos from the early 1920s. Amazing. Wow. Will those not look good on the final copy? Too grainy? Actually, no, not at all. So what actually matters a lot more than the original photograph is the way that you're scanning. So if you're taking a photo that was captured on film and you're using a high resolution scanning device to be able to capture that, you're going to have a book that is full of really beautiful, potentially quite large old photos. So there's no reason to think that if you're using a high resolution scan on your scanner, these photos are going to look great in your book. Terry is asking, I wasn't able to listen from the beginning. Will it be sent to will there be a replay recording? The answer is yes. We'll be sending that out shortly. Kinder is asking, what other languages do you offer? Right now, Remento is available in English and Spanish. More languages coming soon. Ellen is asking, can I have a 2-year book? I have not done many stories, and our son wants my husband with dementia to be included. Can we do 2 people on 1 email and 1 book? So can I have a 2-year book? If that is asking about extending your subscription, the answer is definitely yes. Can we do 2 people on 1 email and 1 book? Technically, you can. We recommend that if you have 2 storytellers, you create 2 separate projects for 2 separate books. That way, everything can be organized by person, which we always recommend. But we have had customers who will use 1 email account with 1 book and just send the prompt that was meant to be sent to person A, just send that to person B. You can only have those prompts go to 1 email address. So as long as both people have access to that email address, this should work. Ivan is asking, I have recordings of by my father of his experience in World War II during his tour through Europe with the 95th Infantry Division. Wow, amazing. Can these be used to create a book? This is similar to the question that was asked earlier. Right now, we're not able to upload recordings that currently exist to Remento. We do have examples of some of our customers holding up their phone or tablet to their computer and recording that way. It's not ideal, but being able to upload existing recordings into Remento, that is definitely something that we want to be able to prioritize and bring to our customers in the coming months. So really good suggestion in there. I think I have time for 2 more questions and then I'll wrap us up. Sherry's asking, on a gift certificate, does the subscription start when you activate the program or when the gift giver purchased the gift? It activates when the gift giver redeems the gift card. So if I buy the gift card on January 1st, I send it to the storyteller or to my gift recipient on January 5th. And then on January 10th, they use the gift card to turn on Remento. Their subscription begins on January 10th. And we have time for 1 other question. Brian Anderson is saying, change host. My daughter gifted me for Father's Day. She passed away 5 days later. Oh my gosh. Wow. I'm really sorry to hear that, Brian. We can change the host. Yes, that will require our team getting involved. So I'm going to have my colleague, Happy, reach out to you directly, Brian, and we'll make sure we get that taken care of. You. Very sorry for your loss there. And I'll go ahead and I'll do 1 more question if we have one more question queued up, because that last one was rather quick. What resolution is recommended for the photos used? We recommend, I think the recommendation is it's at least 2,000 pixels wide by 3,000 pixels tall, but we have information on our support in our help center that can answer that directly. And Carla, we will follow up with you directly with the resolution recommendation, the minimum resolution recommendation that we have. So with that, I wish we could answer all of the questions live. If you did ask a question and I was not able to cover it during the webinar, our team will be in touch with you directly. We will respond to every single question that was asked. And as a reminder, you can always reach out to support@remento.co, that's .co, to have questions that you or your storyteller or anyone in your family that you have answered. I just want to close by once again asking that if you do have 2 minutes to fill out our feedback survey that can be found in the chat, we will be giving away 3 free book credits to people who fill out that survey. So please take a moment to do so if you haven't. And I would just love to close by saying thank you all so much for making the time to join today. Thank you so much to Michele and to Linda, our amazing Remento customers, for being here and being so open with their experience using Remento. And thank you for all of you for being a part of our journey, for helping shape our experience, and for being the reason why we do all of this in the first place. So with that being said, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day. And thank you again so much for being a part of Remento.